Alana Newbrook, CEO of Sistra. Welcome to Western Sydney Leadership Dialogue's Digital Dialogue. How are you going?
Thank you for having me. Yes, great. I'm doing very well here in Sydney today.
Great. Well, let's start with Sistra. Some of our audience may not be familiar with who Sistra is. Tell us a little bit about the organisation and its connection to Western Sydney.
Yes, so Sistra comes out of France, French-owned business. I started off around the French Railways, so sort of government-owned, but it's been around since 1957. So 65 years of transport and mobility, and a real passion at Sistra for connecting people through public transportation. They actually also operate in 150 countries, 350 cities, and one high-speed line out of every two in the world is being delivered by Sistra. So some impressive credentials. And so Sistra is very keen on expanding into Australia, which is lucky for me. Get a great role here. And a few years ago, and more so now, Sistra entered the market with the original Northwest Metro. That has expanded into, currently we're working on Sydney Metro West as the independent certifier. And that's a joint venture we have with KBR. So we have a great tie to Western Sydney there, because Sydney Metro West is obviously a new underground railway that will connect Greater Parramatta to the Sydney CBD. And off the back of Sydney Metro, we just recently won Sydney Metro Western Sydney Airport. So another new metro rail line. You can see there's a familiar theme here around metros. Yes. But that it will obviously connect Greater Sydney into the airport and up the spine of, the centre of the region. Yeah. So what Sistra is thoroughly enjoying being in Australia and in Western Sydney particularly, and we're thrilled to be a part of such a sort of city shaping project that's redefining the West.
Yeah, well, speaking of city shaping, you mentioned Sistra's connection to Faster Rail.
Yes.
And I know that's obviously one of your specialties. You must be pleased with the recent news around Faster Rail, and particularly, yes, for Western Sydney, we're pleased that there's some interchanges in Parramatta and Campbelltown, yes, that have been framed. Talk us through some of the opportunities and what that would mean for not just Western Sydney, but I suppose Greater Sydney and parts of New South Wales, connected into that six-city model that's now sort of being used by the Greater Cities Commission.
Yeah, no, look, we're thrilled to see both the federal and the state government. Obviously, there's about $1 billion on the table, I should say, looking at connecting Hunter to Sydney. Look, it's very exciting opportunity. Exciting for us to bring that global expertise we've had creating metros and high-speed lines throughout the world. But really something I'm personally passionate about, and we are here, is just that ability to connect the regions and help people, help that social uplift in society, and connecting people to jobs and education, and really seeing sort of an uplift in communities along that high-speed line. So what we're excited about is, I think tying, really, it's greater connection, isn't it? And it breaks down barriers. It allows people to move about more freely. And look, we're excited to hopefully play sort of at least some knowledge sharing and some leadership in how that project is planned, with the lessons learned we've seen throughout the world.
Yeah, I think you guys are bringing a lot to the table on that front. Speaking, you've mentioned Sistra's connection to Western Sydney.
Yes.
I'm interested in your connection to Western Sydney. I sort of met you in your previous role at WSP.
Yes.
You spoke at one of our events a couple of years ago. One of the interesting things that I've found in doing some research on you is that you hold degrees in both chemical engineering and arts, with a focus on English literature and philosophy. Two fairly distinct sort of degrees. I wouldn't necessarily marry those two up, but talk us a bit about your history, especially in the fields of chemical engineering and also the arts.
Yes, it's an interesting one. So look, I'm a public school educated and was one of the first in my family to go to university. So I was very keen to get into Sydney University. My uncle actually was an engineer, or is an engineer, I should say. So he was actually the first, and then I've been the second person to get into university. And he was encouraged me to have a look at engineering. But my mum was a librarian, and we're a great family of readers and literature. And so I was very passionate about the art side of things. So when I went to Sydney Uni, they said, well, hey, this is the first year we're actually offering both degrees, so you can do a double degree. So I think I am the first person at Sydney Uni that did the double degree, and I believe it has been utilised since then. But yeah, look, the chemical engineering has been wonderful. It's obviously allowed me to pursue a career in infrastructure. Some of my first job was actually working in petrochemical oil and gas out at Castle Hill.
Right.
We did some of the original upgrade of the fuel facilities at RAF Base Richmond. And I do have a good tie to Western Sydney. Is my grandmother grew up, Dorothy Packer, her name was, grew up in Ryde, and she moved to West Ryde in 1922. And they were out there in Western Sydney, and passionate Western Sydney siders. And my
Right.
mum grew up in Ermington.
Oh, good old Irma.
Irmo, yes.
Yes.
And
The
so,
one-time home of Betty Cuthbert as well.
yes,
One of
exactly.
Ermington's famous heroes.
So yeah, the Wood family descendants, and we get out there to Parramatta Park every year with all the hundreds of cousins and still have family reunions. So from a personal level, I'm also very tied to Western Sydney.
Right.
So it is part of the DNA.
We'll have to keep an eye out for one of those parks in Irma, upcoming family reunion.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk. I mean, you mentioned obviously faster rail and rail projects. What are some of the sort of broader imperatives around Sistra? What's its vision and what's it trying to achieve? From I suppose a social and health environmental perspective in Western Sydney as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, for us, I think the ambition of Sistra is really to be the signature team for transportation solutions. We don't necessarily want to be the biggest, but we do pride ourselves on being the best. And we do like to, sustainability, global growth and prosperity is all big parts of our mission now as we move forward in how we design and build infrastructure across the world. So what, is a key value of the group is around the communities that we serve and how to provide safe and enduring solutions that change people's lives. So that's something that, drew me to Sistra, and the ability to then bring that DNA and that power of the group globally to make a difference here in the local market. And because we really hone in and we focus on transportation, and we've got experts from, the DNA of operating the railway systems all through Europe, and bringing that operational expertise all the way through into the planning and the front end. So yeah, look, for me, I think it's a great opportunity as Australia's growing. We hope to lift our population growth after COVID again, stimulate the economy. I'm also really passionate about STEM, obviously. Now, I have been an engineer and seen how good it is and what it offers you as a career. Also that infrastructure as a key fiscal stimulus in how to also create jobs for communities that need it, and training and education. So we're trying to do a lot of work with a new RAP policy and encouraging growth and employment of all sorts of people into some of these infrastructure projects. And yeah, look, I mean, so ambitious mission, but we like to hopefully change lives and leave a positive legacy.
Absolutely. And I mean, on that sort of, it's great to hear that, Sistra's obviously got a strong focus on some of the social imperatives. And I think, one of the things that we've been, quite passionate and open about is trying to stimulate opportunities and pathways for women in engineering. And I suppose you're a living, breathing example of that. What do you see as potentially some of the barriers or things that can be improved to provide more opportunities for female participation in this sector?
Definitely, if you can't see it, it's hard to understand you can be it. And I do still see with my son's in year 1 at school, and they have all the kids in the class and they say what they want to be, and it still amazes me that all the boys in the class are like doctors, engineers, and all the girls are dancers, mothers. So it's just incredible how it starts from a young age, that the girls aren't thinking about, I'm going to be a doctor or I'm going to be an engineer. We've started working and partnered with a group called Tech Girls, and I'm going out helping girls in year 5 and 6 learn to code and start to do engineering
Right.
science degrees. I think we've got to
Yeah.
hit it at all levels, hit it at the schools, get young girls actually, being excited about computer skills and analytics and engineering, and then obviously at the universities. It's a bit late sometimes though if you haven't been able to get the education through primary and high school. Some of those doors start to close, so you've got to start young. And I think we've got to just keep speaking loudly and positively and promoting this as a career choice. And as people can also see, it doesn't mean that you have to be in a hard hat and boots and out, on construction sites all the time. Like an engineering degree can look and feel very differently to all sorts of jobs. So just breaking down some stereotypes.
Yeah. Well, I think you're certainly a good example of what can be achieved, Alana.
Yes.
So on that note, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thanks, Sistra, for ongoing support and the work that it's doing in Western Sydney, especially on those metro lines.
Yep.
Look forward to seeing more of you over the coming years.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. And we look forward to working with you.
Thanks, Alana.
Great. Bye.